As we mentioned earlier, the question today is, what's the most useful work to be done at the present moment? The question was discussed on the 7th of May 1912, and the present moment continues because it is still relevant to us, because there are so many types of work that demand our attention, and each one thinks that the work he is engaged in is the most important. But to take an objective view, what's the most useful work? There is idealistic work, there is humanistic work, there is religious work, all of them having degrees of utility. But the most useful for the whole of humanity, useful to promote God's manifestation on earth, that's the most useful work. Her answer is, the general aim to be attained is the advent of a progressing universal harmony. There are three terms which are important. First, undoubtedly, it is harmony. A certain mutuality, agreement, and adjustment, attunement of vibrations on different levels with each other, harmony. And that harmony is universal harmony. Individual harmonies can only be a step, but what is required is a universal harmony in the universal context. Obviously, it means not only between individuals thrown together, but between nations, between countries, between the different parts of the globe. That is the universal harmony. And that harmony is not ever a finished product. It is a progressing harmony. In the very nature of things, it can't be manufactured. It has to grow on the support and participation offered by the constituents, who are individuals and groups of individuals. So it is a progressing harmony. The harmony of today may not suit the conditions a year hence. The universe is a continual, increasing proposition. At every second, there are new ingredients entering into the earth atmosphere, making it a continuous movement of enlargement. Even the scientists today are agreed that the universe is constantly growing. It is not static. It is a growing proposition. And that requires also a constant enlargement of our conception of progress, of harmony. Now, if that is the general aim, the means for attaining this aim in regard to the earth is the realization of human unity. We'll stop there for the time. Means for attaining this aim in regard to the earth. There is a hint here that there are different worlds, different planes of existence, each having its own setup. The Veda speaks of 7 earths, of which ours is only the physical earth. Now she is concerned at the moment with this earth. The life and the movement on each plane or on each world has got its own law, and it is different from what governs the movement of earth. So we are concerned with the evolution of the earth, and that is the means for attaining this aim is the realization of human unity. It goes without saying that for all the talk of oneness, of unity, humanity continues to be disparate, continues to be divided. There is no unity on any important level. So this unity, realization of human unity, proceeds on various levels. First, we have to accept in our mind that unity is something to be desired, something to be worked for, and our heart must participate in what otherwise would remain a mental conception, a mental theory. With the participation of both the mind and the heart, the vital energies, they too have to work for the unity of all, and not, as normally happens, for the aggrandizement of oneself, one's own ego. And of course, there is the physical fact of existence requiring each one to do something physical, some physical labor, exertion, to promote this human unity. That is why Mother was particular that we must make it a point to give at least 1 hour of the day for some unselfish work. Normally, 90% of our time and energies revolve around ourselves, our requirements, legitimate, requirements of our families, those around us. Altogether, whether the circle is small or big, oneself is the center. But to learn to do some unselfish work which doesn't have regard to one's personal self, that gives a training, that gives a discipline to expand oneself beyond the walls of the ego. at least for that time, we are not thinking directly or indirectly of its advantages to us, but to the generality. And this is, she said, 1 hour work, unselfish work. In this connection, I was the other day very much struck by what she told someone, that you must do at least 1 hour of work per day, work which you don't like. See, everybody does work, or would like to do work which he likes. So she says, learn to do 1 hour at least of work which you don't like to do. I thought there is a whole philosophy there. That we make divisions, manual labor, mental work, hierarchical positions, work that is pleasant, work that is not ugly, work that is not menial. We have got, each one of us has got that own gradation system. And we will try to avoid certain types of work, if we can. She says, do that which you don't like. I thought that is the most practical way of getting over one's likes and dislikes, one's set of preferences. She always paid great importance to the setting, what she said, setting aside of preferences. Whenever she was asked how to know that you are being rightly guided. We may think we are rightly guided, it may not be that. She said there is only one barometer, and that is, you must cast aside your preferences. What you would like to do, what you would like to be done, what is the thing that you would like to happen, and what should not happen. All these cobwebs, at least for that time, when you pray for guidance, when you wait for guidance, they must be set aside. And this discipline of working, doing a work which you don't like for a certain period of the day is a very practical instruction, whether one does yoga or not, for the expansion of one's consciousness, for the identification with God's creation. This discipline is very important. And how do we work for human unity? There are 100 ways with which we are all familiar. Writings, lectures, seminars, conferences, legislation, parliamentary laws, all these. But have they attained or progressed towards human unity? They have not. And that is why the means for attaining this aim is through the awakening in all and the manifestation by all of the inner divinity which is one. First, awakening in ourselves of the inner divinity. It's not that we are awakening the inner divinity, awakening our sense. We awake to the presence of the divinity within us. And once we awake to that, we realize that the divinity in me and in you and him is one. That is why Sri Aurobindo and Mother speak of human unity on a spiritual basis. That is the motto of the World Union. To try to realize unity with the world in the heart. Heart is the nearest to the location or the focus of the divine presence. So, all other means having failed, our teachers hold that first try to awake to the inner oneness, inner divinity. And once you do that, you do not need any persuasion, any coaching, any discipline to feel that unity with others. I don't need to read Tagore or Gandhi or Thoreau to appreciate the sense of a concept of oneness. If it is throbbing in my heart, the moment I come out and see people, if there is some immediate interweaving, interconnection, heart to heart, that is the beginning of unity. So, the first step is to awakening the inner divinity. And we do not stop there. And manifestation. This is a key word in this philosophy. It is not enough to realize. Many have realized. But the realization has been bottled up, has been confined to oneself. She insists that it should be manifested. It's not that one realizes the divinity at one stroke. It's not that we wait for complete realization before we can manifest. They go side by side. To the extent I realize the divine presence in myself, the values that are characteristic of the divine presence, love, harmony, charity, kindness, these and kindred values, they throb in me, and they are to be articulated in my daily life. That is what is meant by manifestation. And each time something good in me, I take pains to manifest, I take pains to organize in my external life, it gives a fiber, it gives a strength to the inner formation. So both realization and manifestation support and nourish each other. By manifestation, you strengthen the foundations of the realization. And by realization, manifestation becomes possible. And unless it is a manifestation of what is already realized in me, the manifestation doesn't last. It's not true only in a spiritual context. Even at the mental level, unless the knowledge that I want to communicate, that I speak about, has been fully understood and made part of my mental apparatus, it will not carry conviction. If I am a professor, my students will be obliged to take it down and parrot and pass examinations. If I can speak interestingly, telling stories and anecdotes, my audience will appreciate. But it won't put a seed of that knowledge in anybody. But if what I would call the knowledge is living to me, then when I utter it, when I express it, it goes like a bullet. So, there are the Mahavakyas in the Upanishads, Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. Now, if I repeat them, one repeats them, it is a phrase. It is just as they say, it is a quotation from the Upanishads. That's all. If you are further interested, they will ask which Upanishad, where, what exactly does it mean. But if a person who has realized the truth of the Mahavakya, if he utters, it sends out a vibratory movement communicating the knowledge of that truth which has been realized by one. And that is how a mantra, a word, an utterance of a rishi has such powerful effect, because it has been realized, dwelt upon, and even when you tune yourself to it and utter it, it sends a powerful vibration which is stored in it. So this living in knowledge, living in experience, this is very important. Otherwise, it remains a philosophy. It has no spiritual content. So, to come back to the point, awakening and manifestation. In other words, to create unity by founding the kingdom of God which is within us all. It is a trite saying that God is not all in heaven. God is not to be pursued, quested for, somewhere above or in a place of worship like a temple or a church or a mosque. But He is within us all. The kingdom of God is not a physical kingdom. It is the presence, a dynamic presence, not just a static presence, but a dynamic presence of God and what He stands for in ourselves. Founding the kingdom of God within us means organizing the glory or the power of God within us. There are so many powers, so many elements that constitute the kingdom of God. We call it in modern English values. Formerly they called it powers. But they are characteristic. They are to be organized in this life so that every moment that operates. And when one has that kingdom of God within, one is absolutely impervious to what happens outside. The Gita has a hitting phrase, a powerful phrase, Swarajya, the kingdom of the self. The self, the divine, the God are the same consciousness. Now Swarajya, that is, you first have that feeling of self-empire. You see it very rarely, but you do see it. There are people on earth even today who have realized that, and they live in that bliss of self-empire. But that's only a stage. The Swarajya is followed by Samrajya. Samrajya is extended empire. You cover, you embrace the generality in your consciousness. So Swarajya is incomplete without Samrajya. And Samrajya is not real, is not true, unless there is Swarajya. Because there can be a vital Samrajya. There can be a very powerful person, a leader type, who extends his vital personality and throws his stamp upon those around. That is a vital Samrajya. But here we speak of the kingdom of God. And that has to be organized. This, therefore, is the most useful work to be done. Having enunciated these general propositions, she goes into detail. For first individual, Mother is always a very, very what is called clarity of light, clarity of intelligence. She was very sharp, very precise. Though she said that she was not a philosopher and she has nothing to do with philosophy, her expressions, her writings, such precision, as if they are framed by a sword. Here she says, for each individually to be conscious in himself of the divine presence and to identify himself with it. This is a very important thing, because to be conscious in himself of the divine presence is possible. We can conceive of that happening by grace, by yoga, by concentration. One can feel something there. But it's not over. You have to identify yourself with it. Identify yourself means not only your mind, but your whole nature. It must be brought into tune, brought on a level with that presence. Nothing should move or vibrate contrary to that presence. Unless we do that thoroughly and more thoroughly, we can't say we are identified with it. We can attain, we can hope to attain some kind of union with it, but not identity. Identity is your nature, is the nature of that. So to be conscious, to awake to that presence, and then proceed to identify yourself with it. The next one is more detailed. which will require more detailed explanations, and we will reserve it for the next time.